Hey there, it's Elena from Black Sheep 303 Creative, and today I'm going to be showing you a workaround for print and cut stickers with the Cricut Joy. And really fast, I just wanted to show you the printable vinyl sticker paper that I'm using for this project. It is from HTVRONT. They asked me to do a review of this product that is a different video. I'll link it up here. But I really love this product. I think it's really awesome. So if you're looking for a printable sticker paper, this is amazing. It comes in glossy white, matte white, as well as clear. It's available on Amazon, and I'll link it in the video description. It also comes with some lamination sheets that I will use sort of towards the end of the video, just to show you the difference between what it looks like without lamination and what it looks like with lamination. The lamination helps to like super waterproof it, but these are actually waterproof papers all on their own. So enough about that. Let's get to Cricut Design Space and the fun workaround for the Cricut Joy. To start off with, as you see here, I am in Canva. And what you would want to do, Canva is a free program. I actually have the professional version, but the free version has some limitations, but it's really not, they're not bad. And so you should be able to do everything I'm going to show you now. So I'm going to go over here to the right, and I'm going to click on custom size, and I'm going to change it from pixels to inches. And I'm going to put in 4 inches by, I'm going to put in 9. So 4 by 9, and hit create new design. And then that'll bring you into like the screen with the 4 by 9 canvas sort of thing. So I'm going to go over here to the left and click on elements, and we're going to go to lines and shapes and do see all. And I'm looking for like the outline of a shape. So I want the outline of a square. Don't want the rounded corners. I want the regular sharp corners. And this is a shape that you can just resize by grabbing the handles. So I'm just going to drag the handles, to the edge, and you can see that it snaps there really easily, like so. I don't really want it to be purple. I'm going to go to the color box over here on the upper left, and I'm going to click black. And so then that changes the outline to black, and that's all we need to do. Now you probably want to change it, to say Cricut Joy print template or something. And then you would go to download, and you'll see I have this option for transparent background. You will not have that if you're in the free version. So I am not going to do the transparent background. I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm going to download it as a PNG. There are some other options, but I'm just going to do PNG and hit download. And you'll see down here it starts telling me it's downloading. Okay, and so then it asks you to, do you want to continue editing or go to your homepage? I'm just going to go to the homepage, and I'm going to close out of this. Okay, so I'm in Cricut Design Space. I'm in a new project, totally blank, and I'm going to go over to the left-hand side and click on Upload. And I'm going to go to Upload Image, Browse, and then I'm going to go to my Downloads folder, and you'll see that large rectangle that I just downloaded. So I will hit Open. Shows up like so. I'm going to hit complex, even though it really isn't, but complex. And then with the automatic, manual selection tool over here on the left, that's the auto sort of tool that's selected. I'm going to just click the white in the middle. You'll see it removes the white rectangle, but leaves the black outline. That's what we want. So hit apply and continue. And then I'm going to do it as a print and cut image. And you could, give this a name, change it, add tags, whatever you like, and hit upload. All right, so then you'll see it's the first image uploaded here on the left. So I will click on that to highlight it, and then click over here on the right, add to canvas. And there we go. Now you see it comes in at a different size than what we had sized it at in Canva. Don't know why it does that, but it always does. So we have to shrink it down. So it is locked. The aspect ratio lock is locked. So I'm going to go over back here to size and type in 4.00 because that's what we had. We had 4 by 9. So it's 4 by 8.999. And now over here on the upper right, I'm going to hit my Joy. And now it's giving me like a little warning area because it says print and cut. So what I want to do is I want to go over to Operation, and instead of print and cut, I'm going to go to Draw. And then it's going to still have this little error message. So what you need to do is you need to click on this question mark box next to it. And you have to pick a pen, basically. And so I'm going to use the 0.4 millimeter black pen. What we're going to do is we're going to draw this onto our 4.5 by 12 inch mat. And this is going to be sort of the template for the print and cut stickers. So I'm going to hit Make It. I'm going to say On Mat, because you definitely have to do it on a mat. Hit Done. And then you'll see the lines sort of show up on the mat. So hit Continue. And then you can hit whatever, you could hit like laser copy paper or, you know, cardstock's fine. I'm going to just hit medium cardstock. And then it tells us to load the black pen and load the mat into the machine. So I'm going to head on over to the machine. Okay, so you can see I've got my Cricut Joy here. I've got my 4.5 by 12 inch mat. And I have my black pen that came with the machine. So I'm going to peel off the cover. And you'll notice I already have a line drawn on here, but we're going to just do it again, reinforce that line. So I'm going to remove the blade by opening the latch and then pulling the blade out. And then just taking off the cap. You might want to check to make sure that it's writing, which it is. Just put it down until it stops and then close the latch. And I'm just going to load the mat. Okay, and then back over in Cricut Design Space, I'm going to click the Go button. Okay, looks good, so I'm going to unload the mat in Cricut Design Space. Okay, and there you see we have our black rectangle drawn on the mat. And believe it or not, that the Cricut Joy pen works really well for this. Like it doesn't really rub off, so that's pretty nice. Okay, so that's step 1 completed with our print and cut method. Now let's head back over to Cricut Design Space and proceed to step 2. All right, so for step 2, you're still working with that 4x9 rectangle that we just drew on the mat. But now what you need to do is you need to upload or find whatever images you want to use as stickers, bring them in and size them down to fit within the inside of the 4x9 box. Now this square that I've got here is really only here so that we can see the white outlines around the images to make sure that none of them overlap within the box. Like that's really important because this is where the Joy is going to cut everything eventually. This probably seems really weird, but this 4x9 inch rectangle is how we're going to sort of tell the Joy where to cut everything. Might seem a little confusing, but trust me, it will become clear. Now, I'm not going to go over how to upload images or how to put them in and resize them. I'm going to assume you know all that because this would be an hour-long video otherwise. I do want to show you really quick how to add an offset to an image if you need to. And I did have to do that for a couple of these. If you're printing on the white printable sticker vinyl, you definitely want to have a white border all the way around these images. And a thicker border is better than a thinner border because if you've done any print and cut projects in the past, you know that printing probably works fine, but the cutting is never 100% perfect. So the wider the border is, the less you're going to notice if it's off. So that's why I recommend putting a white border around everything. All right, so I'm going to just show you how to put a white border around this guy because he doesn't have any border at all. And chances are if we were to print him and then try to cut him, the machine is not going to cut just perfectly along the outline of this tree. So that's why I'm adding the white border. So I've selected the tree. I'm going to go to offset up here on top. It defaults to a 1/4 inch border, 0.25, you can see here, and it's represented by this blue line that shows up, and that is really large. So I'm going to change this, and I know I want a 1/4 inch, so that's 0.125 instead of 0.25. And so now it shrinks down, and I'm going to hit apply. And then it comes in at black, and so I'm going to go over here to the fill color box up here under the operation box. Click on that and choose white. And now over here on the layers panel on the right hand side, here's the tree, and then right under it is the offset that we just did for the tree. So the tree is selected right now. I'm going to hold down my shift key, select the offset, go down to the bottom and hit attach. And basically that's going to make sure that these two are stuck together, so when we go to print them and then cut them, they will stay together. It won't get rearranged by the software, which is what the software kind of likes to do. Now I'm going to fit it in this little space here. I know it doesn't fit perfectly without angling it, so I'm just angling it as I need to. And again, making sure that none of the borders overlap. Okay, so that's our setup right now for the stickers that we're going to print inside our rectangular box. We don't need this gray square because we've determined that the white borders don't overlap. So I'm going to go over here to my layers panel, and I'm going to just hide that by turning off the eyeball. Now there are a couple things we have to do. First, you want to go up here and make sure that you are on a machine that can do print then cut. So if you are in the Joy right now, you're going to have all these little arrow triangles along here because the Joy doesn't support print then cut, and everything right now is set to print then cut. So change it to, I'm going to change it to the Maker because I own a Maker, but you don't even have to own a machine to just change it to one of these. So it can be any of the other choices. Then we need to go down the list and make sure that all of the things that we're actually seeing here are set to print then cut. And the only thing that isn't is the square, but we've turned that off, so that's not important. Okay, and finally, we're going to click and drag over the rectangle and everything inside of it, and we're going to go over here and attach it. So that's going to keep everything exactly as we see it right now when we go over to make it. Okay, so now we are ready to print this. So I'm going to click on Make It. You'll see that it shows up on the mat. So this outer black rectangle, that is the print then cut border that you're, like if I was actually going to be cutting these on a Maker, the Maker would be looking for this border to help it determine where to print and then, well, where to cut everything, basically. Long story short, this looks good. So we're going to hit continue. Now it's going to try to connect to my Joy or my Maker. It's not going to work because I don't have my Maker turned on, so I'm going to get an error message, and you will too if you don't own one of these. It doesn't matter, just leave that alone, because right now the first step is to print this. So we're going to send this to the printer. So I'm going to click on Send to Printer. Okay, so it connects to my printer. I want one copy. We do not want to add bleed. Bleed is basically like where the ink kind of goes slightly outside the outline of what you're cutting, and we don't need that because we have white outlines around everything. So I'm going to turn that off by clicking on it. But I do want to use the system dialog box, so that means like the printer dialog box, so I'm going to turn that on by clicking it. And then I'm going to hit print. And my system dialog box appears. So the very important thing about this is that you need to set your printer to the proper settings in order for the HTVRONT printable sticker vinyl to print properly. Now, to do that, I go to Preferences. And under my media type here, I'm going to change it from plain paper to photo paper matte, because I'm going to print on the matte paper. I will also print one on the glossy paper, but the first time around I'm going to print matte. And then under print quality, I'm going to switch it from standard to high. And that's all I have to do. So I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to hit print. I have printed one on matte, and then I have also printed one on glossy. I'm going to pull over my paper trimmer because what we want to do is we want to cut right along the edge of the black border and then stick it on our mat inside the black border. So to do that, you can use our scissors and do it by hand. That's, you know, fairly easy. But as a paper or a card person, I have paper trimmers. So I am taking my Fiskars paper trimmer here, and it's got this metal line. So I don't know if you can see, but there's this metal string kind of thing that runs down the center of this paper trimmer. And so you can use the metal line to line up and know exactly where the blade is going to cut. So I'm taking that and I'm lining it up just right on the edge of the black there. And then I'm just going to take the blade and run it through. And there you go. So it cuts off the one side. And you just repeat that step with all of them. Now, again, you can use a scissors and do this by hand. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. Just make sure that you get it pretty straight. It can be a little tricky to get it 100% perfect, but you know, do your best. Now what you could do instead of doing the 4x9 square is you could do a 4x6 rectangle, and then when you print it, you would get two 4x6s onto one sheet. So if you're going to do a lot of sticker printing, that might be the better way to go. You do it exactly the same way as I've showed you with the 4x9 inch rectangle. You just create a 4x6 rectangle in Canva and repeat all the same steps. So that is the laminated matte sticker sheet. Now this does make this paper heavier. So when I send this to the printer, I'm going to use like a heavier cut setting than I might normally. And I'm going to go back to Cricut Design Space and set up the machine to prepare to cut this. Okay, so it has printed and now I'm just going to cancel down here on the lower right. And it's going to say, are you sure you want to cancel? Yes, I am sure. And then it's going to take me back to the matte screen. I'm going to cancel again. And now over on this screen where we've got our like print and cut item, it's going, we want to change these elements to cut. So if this is something that you want to like print multiple times, I would say save it now so that you know that this is the print version. But I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to just go along each item, and where it says print and cut, I'm going to go up to operation and I'm going to change to cut basic. And you can see how it turns the shape into like a gray out like shape basically. And with the groups, I'm going to just grab the group, do the same thing, cut basic. And actually for this label where we put the circle behind it, we're actually going to turn off the label part. We don't want to have that cut because you can see right now it thinks it's going to cut all these elements out. We don't want that. We just want to cut the circle. So I'm going to hide the label so that it just cuts the circle. And that's something that you may have to do with anything that that you've added an offset to. So I think I'm going to do that with the tree here, and then I'm going to change the outline to cut. And then same for the gnome. So I'm going to turn off the printed part and I'm just going to cut the outline. And even the rectangle box, you do need to change that to cut as well. All right, so I've turned off the things that I don't want to cut, and then everything else is set to basic cut. Make sure everything's still attached all together, which it is. Okay, so now we're going to change our machine to the Joy, and then we will hit make it. You want to pick on matte. Okay, so then this is where we're going to cut this. So I'm going to hit continue, For the laminated printable vinyl, I'm going to use the heavy cardstock setting because that is thicker than just the plain sticker paper with the added laminate. So that's what I'm going to cut that with. And now it says load the fine point blade and load the mat. So we'll do that. All right, so now I'm going to take my sticker sheet and I'm going to line it up with the inside edge of our drawn rectangle. This can be a little bit tricky. And honestly, it's never going to be 100% perfect. And then I'm going to take my scraper and just press it down to make sure it's got good adherence to the mat. And now I'm going to load the mat. And back over to the software, I'm going to click go. All right, and as soon as it pushes it out to go back up to this corner, that's when I know to pause the machine so that it doesn't cut the actual box. And over in the software, I'll hit unload. So that heavy cardstock setting does multiple cuts. So the regular setting, I believe, is 2 cuts, and that's perfect for this. And there we go, look at how cute they are. You know, now are they 100% perfect? No, like this border is slightly larger than that border, but that's what you're gonna get with the Joy doing print and cut. You just can't make it totally perfect, but that's why I'm saying doing a larger border makes that less noticeable. So like the tree, you barely even see that. Whereas this, because it's closer, you kind of notice it, but you know, I'm not going to worry about that. And I'm going to flip this over and peel these off. Okay, now I'm going to cut the glossy ones and we will compare. All right, and then to cut the glossy stickers, since we don't have laminate on them, I'm going to hit medium cardstock, and then I'm going to set the pressure to more. And again, it wants me to load the mat into the machine. Okay, so these are our cute stickers. These are the ones with the matte laminate, and these are the glossy. There's not a whole lot of difference in person other than obviously, you know, one has got a glossy shine and the other is matte. Now the laminated matte has a very slight texture to it, but really very nice. The lamination is definitely heavier than the non-laminated, but both of these have turned out very nicely. And as you can see, the borders aren't perfect. I did a little better on the glossy than I did on the matte, but as far as getting it lined up perfectly. However, I'm not sure there's a way you can really ever be perfect with print and cut, whether you're doing the workaround on the Joy or just a normal like print and cut, say on the Maker or an Explore Air machine. You're always going to have some areas where the border isn't quite perfect, and I think that's just something you're gonna have to live with for print and cut. But overall, I think they turned out great, and I'm pretty impressed that you're even able to do this kind of thing with the Cricut Joy. So I hope you'll give it a try and let me know how it goes. Thanks so much for watching.